The truth is bitter, but we must continue to say it because without truth, there will not be life. Truth is life. If the African nations, African leaders will be accepting a lifetime presidency where an African president will be on the seat for 20 years, for 15 years, if the African leaders, these countries that are condemning the coup now, if they can allow political coup where the electorate will go and vote, they will rig the election against them, and they will accept false declaration of election result and congratulate the person, I don't think they have right to even condemn a coup, even though we are not supporting coup, even though coup is not good, but all these African leaders don't have right to condemn a coup because all of them came to their position, their leadership position through coup, either a military coup or a political coup or whatever. This is the truth that we have to accept before the healing can start.
If a thief comes into your house and removes you out of your house and then furnishes your house and then you remove him, how do you compensate the thief? This is exactly what we are being told.
No matter the country you belong to or you came from, at this moment, for every Africans, it is a critical moment. We are talking about the Niger Coup, but people are not seeing things that are serious over there. The ECOWAS delegation they sent to negotiate with the juntas, with the military of Niger, they have denied them access to negotiation, so they did not discuss anything with them. And ECOWAS are still insisting that after they try possible means to negotiate with them, that if all effort did not work, that they are going to strike next 2 days. But so many people from across Africa are saying no, and they are throwing weight behind this military regime that just assumed power in Niger Republic. Now, people are asking questions. Are you supporting military coup? Absolutely no. But I am not supporting democratic rascality. And at this critical moment, the voice of Professor Lumumba, a Kenyan lawyer, an African activist, an outspoken man who don't fear anybody, has lent his voice. And he has said that there is no need for military intervention, that we can talk out this. And at the end, if the people of Niger said that they want the military regime, so let there be military regime in Niger. Listen to him as he speaks.
If a thief comes into your house and removes you out of your house and then furnishes your house and then you remove him, how do you compensate the thief? This is exactly what we are being told.
Professor PLO Lumumba has asked ECOWAS and AU not to use military force in a bid to reverse the coup, and if not it would become a bloodbath. In a tweet this is what he said. All Africans of goodwill urge AU and ECOWAS not to use military force in a bid to reverse the coup in Niger. It would be a bloodbath. Diplomacy must prevail in resolution of all crises in Africa. End of quote. On my opinion, the junta leader has spoken against the ECOWAS force and he sounded right about them. Exactly 100% that is correct, and if ECOWAS uses military attacks on Niger, for interest of the Western world leaders, this is the end of the African Union to me, and African community leaders needs break away from the AU completely and we can have our own Africa.
We need is resolve. What we need are champions of this process. This idea that some people came from Europe and took people's farm and then they are to be compensated. You know, if a thief comes into your house and removes you out of your house and then furnishes your house and then you remove him, how do you compensate the thief? This is exactly what we are being told. The situation is so clear. I mean, you came into Africa, you own 80% of the land. What is independence? Land is the last colonial question. If you have 10,000 acres of land, you've got to give up some of it. One of the problems in Africa is the tendency of African leaders to overstay in power. The people are getting restless because we have a crop of leaders who think that they are demigods. And I'm one who will support the people when they rise against these demigods who suffer from the Martyr complex and the Jehovah complex.
When you study this ongoing crisis, coup upon coup in Africa, you will realize that France is one of the cause of this coup. Because you see all these Francophone countries, if they tell you what they are going through, if they tell you what France has done to them, How can you come into people's land, you colonize them, you take their land, you take their mineral resources? You cannot find an oil or a gold or any mineral resources and mine it in your country. You don't have that right. You have to tell France first, and let them, they will be the one to first come and mine it and give it to you. This is a colonial rascality and it must stop. If it is taking this revolution to stop, I don't think it is something that is wrong. You cannot keep people who has the mineral resources in abject poverty while you take their resources to go and develop your own country, and in return you give them nothing. You make terrorism to grow in their country without giving them sufficient military equipment and personnel to counter such terrorism. Everything they are doing in Africa is just force. They said they have bases to combat terrorism, but terrorism is growing in Africa. And if you come to their own country, they don't have much bases, but there is no terrorist. So what is going on? And I think the steps Mali has taken to stop French as an official language, other countries should follow suit. We have a culture for God's sake. God created us. We came from somewhere. We have ideas. We have been living before the colonial era. Until we get all this mentality out of our head, we can never become a better Africa. And the time to be this is now. I think this is a positive revolution.
Recently, French African countries have been rising against France and the grip it has on their nations. Just recently, Mali decided to drop French as it declared that it is no longer its official language. Not long after that, Vladimir Putin invited African nations, especially those under France's thumb. These countries all said enough is enough. They asked themselves, how can our countries be so resource-rich, yet we are so poor? Currently, there is a coup in Niger, which most of the citizens are in support. The military has ousted the government of President Mohamed Bazoum. Some of the ECOWAS nations condemn this act, and has given Niger's military a 7-day request to restore the ousted president. The new military government doesn't seem bothered. The very first thing the new government did was ban the export of their uranium and gold to France, as they believed they are being exploited by France, while their people suffer. This will be a lot of problem for France, as 1/3 of the homes in France are powered by uranium from Niger. Can you imagine that? Almost your whole country is powered by another country, yet that same country is the second poorest country in the world. It doesn't just end there. Over 80% of homes in Niger lack access to electricity, while France enjoys this. Gold is obviously one of the most precious metals in the world. Every country wants to accumulate as much gold as possible. The more gold you have, bigger your GDP and the richer your country. France gets all its gold from the African countries it ruled, including Niger, and now Niger just banned its source of power and its source of money. Do you think Niger did the right thing? Let us know what you think in the comments. This has made France angry, and President Macron gave them some warnings. France actually warns Niger that it would retaliate if its interest in the region is threatened, especially as protesters threaten to attack the French embassy in Niamey. The French president emphasized that he wouldn't take or tolerate any aggression against his country or its interests, and by interest I'm sure he is referring to uranium and gold. Protesters could be seen burning the flags of France and shouting "Down with France" as they supported the coup. Niger actually the 5th largest producer of uranium in the entire world. About 25% of uranium that entered the European Union in 2021 came from Niger, but they can't boast of power in their own country. As a result, over 60% of the population of Niger lives below the poverty line. In 2009 alone, a study ran by the Extraction Industry Transparency Initiative showed that French company Areva extracted uranium of over $4.8 billion, which is almost 1/3 of Niger's GDP today, but they only paid about $1 billion as royalty to Niger. That is outrageous. This has instilled anger in the hearts of the people of Niger, who also see it as them being exploited by France and the corrupt politicians they consider as puppets of France. It would be important to note that over 1,000 French troops have been stationed in Niger, especially in the capital city Niamey. What do you think of this decision by Niger to ban the export of its gold and uranium to France? Let us know in the comments.
You've just listened to the 10% of what is going on in Niger. So if you don't know what these people are going through, if you don't know their tears, if you don't know where their legs is itching them, do not interfere in what they are doing. If they said we don't want this anymore, you have to understand that these people have been through this for decades. I'm not talking about just a year or 10 years or 20 years. Right from time, these people have been in this. But they cannot be like this forever. And if they did not take this step, it will become forever to them. But the question is, can they be able to resist this to the end so that they can have access to their natural resources, to their money? Imagine a country that cannot print their own money. All these Francophones country, they print their money in France. Listen, it is time for us to give them support. Let them have their own country back. Because the person they called the democratic president, it is just the France puppet. It is like France, just keep him there. Do what we ask you to do. If we ask you to do this, do it. We give you money, we give you this, we take what. They don't think. We don't have leaders that reason very well in Africa. And it is shameful. So this is the situation we are having. And special thanks to Professor Lumumba, those who are speaking up. The truth must be told. Without truth, we are not going to live. And if you did not speak the truth of this matter, there will not be healing. So it's not all about let the military return power. Return power to who? What are they going to restore? People are telling them restore democracy. Which kind of democracy do you want them to restore? To restore terrorism back? Have you heard, since this coup happened, have you heard any terrorist attack in Niger? If this will bring healing, will bring everything simultaneously to them, I think let it be. But what we want is the wish and the will of the majority. We want the will of the majority to happen in any country. If the majority says this, let it be this. If the majority says that, let it be that. Thank you so much for having time to listen. See you on my next video. I am Okocha Happy Marcel.